Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of 8 Plus 1 The Classroom. My name is Charles Nzali. Today we're not in a regular classroom today. Today we graduated. We're having financial education today, ladies and gentlemen. Recently, it's been a lot of depression talk. It's been a lot of inflation talk. It's been a lot of talk about money. So today I have some gentlemen with me today who know a thing or two about finances, and we'll learn from them today. Yeah, I'll let them introduce themselves.
Yeah, my name is Chris Dunlap. A little bit about myself. I actually own a company called New Wall Street, and a part of that we have a segment of it called Stick Talk, which is a financial education community where we teach individuals about the different pillars of financial literacy, fiscal responsibility, as well as asset trading, which can include stock market, cryptocurrencies, and anything that appreciates over time. So glad to be here.
Yes, and my name is Milton Jeffery. I'm the CEO and owner of Rapid Funding Solutions, or rfsfunding.com, and we are a correspondent lender and a mortgage brokerage service. And what we do is we help real estate investors access capital, as well as business owners and entrepreneurs. We help them access capital, whether they're startups or established business, for scaling, growing, buying real estate, expanding, building real estate. We're in those markets. And as of today, we actually became our own white label mortgage company. So now we're able to process and underwrite loans as well.
Got to give a round of applause for that. That's big. Yes. That's very big.
Yes, it's a big deal.
So we are kind of sharing mics here today, but I'm so grateful to have you two here with me. Simply because myself, I am a petty. I'm what you call a petty investor. $100, $200 investor here and there, right? So I'm glad to have you two here, and I'll start with you, Milton. Right? What is the first? I'm just gonna get into it. Usually, yes. I want to ask people about their upbringing and stuff, but this time we're just gonna get into it. We don't have time, right?
All right.
Time is money, and we're talking with money people. They're busy people. So, what is the first biggest misconception that people have about money?
You always hear growing up that money is the root of all evil, and really it's not. I feel like people need to understand how money works, and it's an education that we don't really receive. When you hear like your money ought to be working for you, well, okay, but how? Mm-hmm. And how does it work well enough for me to have a living off of it? These are the things that I think if there is better education just around money itself, and not just talking finances, just money. How does money work? I have seen some incredible things when it comes to that. In the world that I live in right now, a lot of the folks that I work with are finance companies or traders and stuff like that. And I see their money work for them in ways that is just unbelievable to me.
So, Chris, right now, it's a lot of talk about, we're going back to 2008, the Great Depression. Things about to go left, right? If you are having any investments right now, what do you do?
Oh man, that's a good question. I guess the first thing, it depends on what type of investments you have. And you see a lot of people talking about things like the crypto crash. And I think a lot what you're seeing is that crypto is pretty volatile. So people see how fast it could drop. So you are witnessing a lot of cashing out. And so there's two schools of thoughts. For me, I'm young, so I still have time to ride this out. Even if we take a hit of another 20% or whatever they may be projecting in the market, I still have time for that to come back, because typically after a recession, we recover about 36 months, right? So plenty of time for that. For those that are older, you probably need to start working with a financial advisor to see where you can park those funds to where you can hedge against the downside. Another thing for me is I'm a trader, right? I day trade, so I know how to hedge against some of my losses by, shorting the market, then taking that money and putting it back into my long-term investments at a lower cost, which we call dollar cost averaging. So those are some of the points that I would look at, what you would do with your money or your investments right now. And then, of course, you have the different schools of thoughts to say start investing in things like the gold or the silver, or, of course, real estate, which is always something that's going to be an increasing asset.
Real estate right now, where are we?
real estate right now, there's two views on it. There's a primary owner occupied person who's trying to buy a residence that they plan on living. And then there's the real estate investor who is buying a property that they're going to rent out, right? They're just looking to build inventory. Rates right now are crazy. They're increasing literally every day. So for the homeowner, they're slowing down and they're thinking about the cost of that money. You know, in February, we were closing loans at 3.5%. Right now, it can be 7.5%, which is double the rate, right? So if I'm looking to buy a home, I might be thinking very carefully because the home that I could have bought 3 months ago, I can maybe only afford half that home now because rates have doubled, right? But for the real estate investors, it's interesting. Because of the pandemic, people were shut up at home for so long. Now they want to travel. We have investors buying properties all over beaches, all over Florida, Texas, you name it, in areas where there's a lot of tourism or vacationing. And those Airbnbs are generating insane amounts of money. You know, sometimes 10 times what the normal rent of a property would be. So there's two perspectives on it. But I think for the long haul, I don't see rates going back down anytime very soon. I think they're going to continue to be volatile and they're going to continue to rise. And we're going to have to see how that shakes out, man, with people and what they can afford and what they want to buy. Because as you know, buying real estate is mental when it comes to your home.
Yeah.
You know, I want to buy something nice. I want to live in something like this. But I give a lot of credit to our clients because they fix up the homes that they sell. And so there's a lot of real estate in the markets right now that looks a lot nicer.
Yeah. No, I was just going to tell him he's definitely right about the Airbnb market. I just came off of a trip and it was pretty expensive, right? I mean, it's even blowing hotels out of the water. But people, I think we got so used to Airbnb, people were going to spend that. And you also see that the other discretionary spending, like the retail spending, is slowing down.
Yes.
And I think a lot of that is that, you know, COVID showed us that tomorrow's really not promised.
Yeah.
So I'd rather go create memories than build all this stuff and buy all this stuff. So we're doing more family trips. I mean, I'm just saying in general, people were doing more family trips, taking the beach vacations.
Yes.
So you're definitely right. The people that are investing in properties for the purpose of generating income are going to do very well despite the rates, because they're going to get the money to where the rates really don't matter.
That's right.
At this point, right? When we get to the 15, 20, 25% rates, it may be a different story. But right now, it's definitely a good space to be in if you're doing real estate for that reason.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You know, I've seen some of the Airbnbs that have been purchased, mortgages $2,500 a month, yet they're generating $30,000, $40,000 a month.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Right. So, I mean, the markets, I feel like for that side of the world is going to be really, really good ongoing.
So do you think that, you know, we had almost 0% interest rates from the Fed, since 2008?
Yeah.
So is that 14 years?
Yes.
So do you see the rates rising nearly that long too?
So what is interesting, for example, is, you know, last week, Monday, rates could have been, you know, on the non-owner occupied side. For investments, they could have been something like 6%. By the end of the week, they were like 7%, you know, and now they're encroaching on 7.5%, 8%. So, I mean, these rates are really volatile. And you know that the Fed about a week and a half ago increased the prime rate by like 0.75, which was one of the biggest hikes in a long time. And on the other side of that, people say, okay, well, inflation right now is insane. You know, the cost of eggs and milk is double the price.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of truth to that. You have the inflation, cost of your daily goods has gone up, rates are going higher. But I think what people don't understand about inflation is that the reason that the Fed creates inflation is because they know this. If things become too expensive, you won't buy, right? And if everyone stops buying, it forces prices to come back down to reasonable prices. It's all about supply and demand.
Yeah. Especially in the housing market. So you have some people that say, you know, we're seeing semblances of 2008 housing bubble. Do you see it as a bubble, or do you think it's two-pronged? Like there may be a bubble in the single family owner occupied, but not necessarily in those that are investing in real estate to generate income?
Yeah, I still don't see it as a bubble, man, because over, last year during the summer, there was this funny saying. And that saying was that because we were doing a lot of loans, we do nationwide, we were doing a lot of loans in Florida. And they said, man, it seems like half of New York moved to Florida, right? And in today's market, even before rates started increasing, there still was not enough homes for the people that were shopping, right? And you guys have probably heard about all of the bid wars that occur when people go to buy homes. Think about that. Like I just had a cousin made an offer on a home in Prairie Village, and that one day on the market it went for $50,000 over the asking price. So it wasn't even that they said, hey, we want this price. They put the price out there and people came back with $50K over the asking price. So there's still not enough inventory. There are people shopping that need to buy homes and there's not enough homes yet. And that's why new construction is booming right now, because it's trying to service the demand for homes for people to live in.
So I would imagine that is going to lead to a lot of people being upside down, because so many people were overbuying. So when homes do, even if they don't crash, but they do start to retrace a little bit, I've seen people say homes are going to start coming down 20, 30%. I don't think they're going to come down that far. But if I'm paying $50,000 over asking price, I'm already in negative equity.
Yeah, 10, 20% over.
Exactly. I'm already in negative equity. So when they start coming down, then won't that become an issue for the larger market, because you're going to have so many people upside down looking to possibly get out of those homes because they'll never see the return on them?
Well, this is what's crazy about that. That could potentially happen, right? But it'll be a long time before it happens, because for them to be upside down, that means we got to start satisfying this demand that hasn't been satisfied yet. So it's going to be a long time of people continuing to buy homes overpriced because it's still so short. I think they said it was like a deficit of, just in Atlanta, like 3 million homes not built yet for people that need those homes.
Wow.
Right. So I think I don't see it as a bubble, man. I think it's going to be strong for probably some time for the people that still want to buy homes and haven't been able to. Now, the flip side is this. Hedge funds all over the country have been parking money in residential real estate. Like I got customers right now, borrowers, like in the markets like Atlanta, Texas, Florida, and they can't grab enough homes to wholesale to hedge funds. Like one hedge fund says, if you can do it, we'll buy 300 houses a month from you. Right.
Wow.
In the New York and Atlanta areas. So we have this unusual competitor out there, which is these hedge funds that have access to unlimited cash, and they're parking the cash there because they can't park it in other places right now. Right. So that's going to cause something unique. I don't know what it's going to be.
Yeah.
But it is.
It's going to be a lot of dumping in the market in a while. So are they doing it in the way, because I know Zillow was doing that. They were buying up all these homes, but they couldn't keep up with them. They were getting them at crazy prices. Sounds like some of those hedge funds are doing that too.
Yes.
So do you see that coming back to bite them?
They're when they buy those homes, they've been using them as rental properties.
Okay.
And parking cash there. And they've actually been renovating them.
Okay.
Which is interesting. Again, I'm still trying to learn a little bit more about this business model that they're into. But it's because they have so much cash amassed. Like I remember the beginning of this year, one of our private family lenders out of Los Angeles called me and they said, listen, for your fix and flips, if you keep bringing us deals, we're going to close the loan. And then instead of that borrower fixing up the house in phases and submitting the receipts for reimbursement, we're going to give them the money up front to keep going, because we have so much money that's amassed during COVID that we have to get capital out into the streets. And I said, okay, well, will you do commercial deals like that too? And they said, yes. And that's the other side that we don't normally see. There's plenty of money out there, but they couldn't get it out fast enough because the whole world shut down.
Yeah.
For what, 2 years?
Yeah.
Right. So it's going to create certain rifts, certain avenues, certain veins that money has to keep moving out. And I think that's where these hedge funds realize we just got to start buying.
No, that makes sense, because that's how the market is, right? When you have a holiday weekend, you have people sitting on their hands that are used to trading. So stocks are typically higher coming out of that first day out of a holiday. So if they've been sitting on it for 2 years, they're probably really burning a hole in their pocket. Like, we need to make money for our investors, for them to start getting returns on that. I may need to start getting into some real estate wholesaling.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. So with the state of the real estate market being like that, right? I have a question for you. So the average, let's say Charles, right? He works a 9 to 5, and where does this leave him? What chances does he have compared to all these companies that are in the market already, right? A regular dude like me, who's just working a 9 to 5, where does this leave me as a competitor? Because at the end of the day, when I'm going out there to look for a house, I'm competing against some of these companies, right?
Yes.
Where does that put me? It definitely puts you in a precarious situation, because like you said, you are competing, and Milton can probably speak to this a little more. But for me, what I would tell somebody that's competing against this is you don't want to go after the house that's already done. You may want to go, if you see a home that's $300,000, but you know somebody's going to come in and offer 50, 60 over asking because somebody's come in and renovate it. Go find the house that's $250,000 that people probably don't want to buy because they want something that's live-in ready that already looks like they want to. You get that, put your own $30,000 into it to renovate it the way that you want, and now you're under asking price and you're under the bidding price in that. So I would just have to, I would just say take a different approach.
Yeah, and if I could add on to that, right? So that's an intelligent approach right there, right? And what I have actually seen occur in this situation is that those hedge funds, now that they control those properties, they've taken what should be a market rent of $1,800 a month, and now it's $35.
Yeah.
So what happens is that renter looks at that $3,500 and says, "But I could go buy a home and only be paying $2,800." And so they go back to the market and say, "I need to go buy a house." So the houses that now go for the $50K over ask, they say, "But it's still cheaper than if I had to go and pay this high rent."
Yeah.
Right. It's really interesting. It's something that is still new, it's still fresh, and we know that the markets always find a way to correct themselves. So watching that correction happen is going to be interesting. But that's what we've seen in those cases, in those scenarios.
Yeah, people are almost getting forced into home ownership.
Forced into it, yep.
Because of the rent prices being so high.
Yep.
We're just seeing San Francisco happen across the world now.
Oh, man.
That's what it looks like. Sure.
Yeah, that's a good analogy, actually.
I wanted to say something because you brought up Atlanta,
Mhm.
right? And I know there was some news about Atlanta cracking down on Airbnbs. Do you see that crackdown and people either getting fined or having to relinquish those homes? Do you think that will improve the situation in Atlanta with the shortages of homes if people start getting off their Airbnbs? Or do you feel, like you said, your people are paying $2,500 in mortgage, making $40,000 a month, $1,000 fine's not going to bother them? Do you feel like they'll eat that, or do you think you'll start seeing people give up those Airbnb properties?
So some of them are going to give up those properties because some people never had the right motivation or intention in buying them in the first place, right? All they saw was the greed factor. I'm going to buy this. I'm going to make all this money. I get it. The other side of that, though, is some of those people, because in Atlanta, I mean, some of those neighborhoods and communities are just like, we're just not even going to allow it to be an Airbnb. So your high hopes and dreams are actually out the door because you can't even rent it now as an Airbnb. And I feel like in that instance, either sell it or convert it to just a single family rental, like with a long-term tenant in there. And I feel like that would be better for the market, right? I feel like the Airbnbs probably are better fit to like the tourist areas, man, where people are there to vacation and, in and out, not the regular community, of homes with families and kids. And then you got crazy Airbnb people in and out, throwing parties and doing crazy stuff all the time.
Yeah. Affordable housing. With everything that's going on, there was always already a challenge with affordable housing. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's just a dream that'll never occur?
Man, that's a really good one. I am all for affordable housing. There is not enough of it. It gets complicated when you start to understand like how to build it. But my experience with developers is that when you have socially aware type of developers, they understand that going after that market is a must right now. We need a lot more of it, man. Because again, we won't get into politics too much, but you think about historically speaking, there's certain things that occurred like redlining and gentrification and all that stuff. So there has to be an intention to create homes that are affordable for a certain sector of the population. It has to happen.
Wow. Damn. Okay.
Can I say something about how this all came together just real quick? We met, what was it, a couple months ago?
Yes.
Just on the fly, just over some crypto stuff. Good friend Chris Good introduced us, said you guys would vibe out. It took a while for me to reach out. I got busy with some things. Reached out this week, I think. No, last week. Last week I reached out and said, hey, been meaning to connect with you. He was like, man, we need to do a live webinar or a podcast or something one of these days. I said, interestingly enough, I actually have a podcast scheduled. And he's like, bet, I'm there. And then it just came together organically. And I say that because, man, I always, my mentality with everything is that I never rush anything. I never force anything. I just feel like everything falls into place when it's supposed to fall in place.
Yes.
And it's just crazy how this just happened and how great of a show this has been so far. So I just wanted to put that out there. I'm just kind of blown away like, yo, this is amazing.
This is three basically new people who are meeting each other.
Yes.
I'm meeting Chris for the first time. I'm meeting him for the first time. Though in my mind, with the way two of you are vibing, like they probably knew each other since they were kids.
That's what I'm sitting here thinking.
Right.
This is crazy. Like,
Right.
This is the real definition of a great mind thinks alike. Let's talk about the we a little not we, two of you a little way advanced than the average guy, right? You know how I know? I'm the average guy in the studio. That's how I know. So let's say I'm a guy with a credit score of, let's say, 520 right now, today. What do I do? I'm a guy with a 500 credit score. I got credit cards that's maxed out. I'm financially overwhelmed right now. How do I free myself? Because I feel like with all these things we're talking about, right? In order for you to have a hand in the pot, you need credit is what's going to get you even close to all these conversations we are having about real estate, right? Where do I start? How do I get myself out of that?
So one thing is, the credit score is actually a fairly new concept in America. Was it 1973 is when they created this credit score? 1970s or something like that. Yeah, it's fairly new to America. So before that, people were saving money until they got what they could afford, right, to buy homes or whatever. So if someone's like over leverage, 520 credit score, the first thing that I would tell somebody is the first pillar of financial literacy is earning. You have to figure out a way to earn more.
That's it.
To where you're not living paycheck to paycheck, right? And then once you're able to earn more, then you can start paying down those credit scores. A lot of people say, no, I need to start investing this, that, and the other. But the way that, the human mind works is you could be investing, but if you wake up every day and you got $20,000 hanging over your head, every single day you're going to be like, I'm just going to pay all this off with what I have, right? So it never be that balance. So you got to figure out a way to earn more, start paying that down. And then as you're earning more, start figuring out hacks to improve that credit score. And get a gas card, right? To where you're buying your gas on a credit card and paying that down to 20-30% utilization every month to start doing that, continually, or cards that give you things like hotel or flight rewards, some of those things that you can qualify for, or a secured credit card with the bank, right? There's so many different things that you can do in order to start improving your credit. But those two things are going to be the most important: earning more, paying down that debt, and then thirdly is improving your credit.
Yeah. So to add on to that, one of the things you mentioned is that secured credit card. Like that's a method of addressing the credit issue, right? Because you're going to have to address that. Now, the thing is, while you're addressing the credit, how do I make more money to get out from under the debt? Part of that is a spiritual answer, though, right? I've been hustling, man, since I was 12 years old, doing whatever I could. I had a paper out in New York. I was selling all my art. I used to do art. I used to paint, all that stuff. When you want to address the credit, you can look at the tools like getting the secured cards and all these things that boost your credit, but you got to also do something that produces more income. And what I have found, and the reason I say part of that's a spiritual answer, is because most people don't do what they love or love what they do. What I found as even just a young person, that whenever I was doing something I enjoyed, I could do it all day and I could do it all night. And most people do not do that. They don't go out and find the thing that they are most joyful about in doing. So while you're fixing your credit, find the thing you love and do that and get paid for it, right? Because then you won't run out of energy to do it and make it beyond where you are. That's the thing. Like people say, oh man, I'll just go work at FedEx all night. One weekend, they're like, I can't do this, right? Because you didn't pick something you love. Now, if you really want to get over the hump, you're going to have that wherewithal to do something that you're going to stay in it.
Yeah. I definitely worked in a warehouse for one day.
Yes.
I was like, man, it's too hot. I quit.
Too hot. Why am I lifting all these boxes, man?
Yeah.
It's that side of it too. So you got to have both parts of that down. You got to have a goal. You got to have a vision. You got to do something that you're going to stay consistent with.
Even if you don't have the hours to do anything additional, find a way to bring value to someone that's already doing something.
That's right.
Like if I brought a crazy commercial real estate deal to Milton that his people loved and they funded it, immediately, that's going to make him look good. And I'm bringing value.
Him a check.
And I'm bringing value to him.
Right.
So also you can just find ways to bring value to individuals, right? Or like you're like, can help out with podcasts if we decide to do that. Who knows? I could start. Somebody could say, "Man, you got this podcast. It's so crisp. Who does it?" I turn them on to you, and now we're funneling in people that are paying you for your time, right? So it's all about bringing value to individuals that you meet. Outside of that, if you don't have a different skill set, be a connector.
Yeah. Awesome.
What they're saying in layman's time, for people like me, what they're saying is develop yourself.
Yes.
Invest in yourself first before investing in any property or anything. Develop in yourself. Read, pray, go to therapy, heal, whatever it is you need to do. That's what they're telling you here. Do that first, because the same principles of business, of success in business, right? It's the same principles of human growth.
Yes.
The same principles. So what they're telling you is invest in yourself. Find yourself, fine-tune yourself, get better at anything. Everything you do, be committed to it and grow. Once you grow, you attract things that are growing as well. You go from being, you get into a different bracket.
Mm-hmm.
And then that bracket, when you get in that bracket, you add value. Your homeboy that's rapping, that's really a good rapper, be the DJ. Share his music or whatever he's doing on your socials, right? Your homegirl that's braiding hair, post the hair on Facebook and tag them, tell them who did the hair.
Yes.
That's what pretty much that's this whole conversation. We gotta start small and build each other so we can all grow. Don't hold back somebody that's growing already. Support them. This is just basically what they're saying. I'm really blessed, man, for me to just start a podcast and start it with my homeboy and be sitting next to the people that I sit next to from one episode to the next to the next. I have seen growth. I have experienced what growth is. I have sat on this very same classroom and spoke to people, connected to people that if I never started this platform, I would have never had the opportunity to sit down next to these people and learn from them. Every day I learn something new from someone by just sitting and listening to them or asking them questions. You see what I'm saying? So building yourself is the key, is the number one foundation of human existence. You better yourself. If you wake up today and your credit score is messed up, your living condition is not the best, grind it out.
Mm-hmm.
A year from now, you look back and you're like, wow. Yes. Last year I was in this predicament. I'm not in it now. I'm not where I want to be, but I leveled up.
Yeah.
That's basically what everything you were saying, because that's when the lenders are going to look at you and say, and Milton, you can speak to this. The lenders are going to look at you and say, okay, you're worth taking a chance. I'm going to give you my money to buy a house.
That's right.
That's when the lenders are going to look at you and say, okay, you know what? I'm gonna lend you money to buy this car. Right?
Right.
That's when the schools are going to look at you and say, okay, we'll get you a scholarship to come and play for us.
Mm-hmm.
You have to invest in yourself.
Yes.
And that's just basically the last part of this conversation, everything they say, that's what they're saying. And it has to start from that.
Mm-hmm.
Unless we start building each other up, it's not this. There's a lot of information that's given here today. A lot of it. I'm almost getting emotional,
Yeah.
There's a lot of information that's given here today. It's a lot of people who are gonna watch this, and they're gonna lose the information.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are not gonna catch what you two are sharing here.
Yeah.
And I pray even two people at the end of this, they look at it and say, you know what? I heard what they said.
Yeah.
This is information that we were just talking about this earlier. People that look like us, most of us are not privy to these informations.
Right.
We don't have it. The people that have it will charge us a ton of money to share this information with us. And you people just sat here happily and just say these things.
Yes.
So me personally, I'm just going to kick back and just listen. I'm learning. If anybody else is not gonna get it out, I'm gonna get it.
Yeah.
So am I. I'm listening to him talk about real estate and different ways to get financing and funding and the way the market's moving. I'm like, okay, I need to add something else to my tool belt, right? To hedge against what's coming in the market also. So I'm learning just like you are.
Yeah, you've mentioned the term hedge a few times, and it's such a powerful thing. And I had this conversation with my wife just last week, and I said, you know something? I said most folks don't understand like how to hedge. And we've all seen Bitcoin crashing and dropping down. And I was talking to one of my boys, and while the Bitcoin was crashing, he's a trader, so he went into an oil buy and then started buying oil, right? And so while one thing is going down, the other thing goes up, right? And not only did it cover the gap, but he made more. And you look at like the average person that has to go to the pump and buy gas for $5 a gallon right now, they don't have a way to hedge. Then they don't understand what that is, right? So when you look at like really getting strategic about your financial plan, like I mentioned earlier, like if I can qualify for a mortgage, maybe I go buy a duplex first, for $150,000. I take one side, someone else is paying the other side. Now I'm hedging, right? Because I got a job. But then I got the income from where I live, so when that gas goes up, I already have something to offset the higher price.
Yeah.
Right. And it's I feel like when you mention hedging, I feel like that's what people got to start thinking about, man. Because when you think about the lower class, the middle class, they don't have opportunities like the wealthy do unless you get real strategic. How do I hedge? And is hedging even in my plan?
Yeah.
Maybe they don't understand what it is or why it is, but you can do it.
Yeah. You mentioned the different classes, and I read an article the other day where Jeff Bezos said, inflation, of course, is going to hurt the lower class. They don't have that funding to take advantage of these things like the wealthy class do. When things crash, the wealthy have the capital on the side or the avenues to get the capital on the side to pour into these things, where the lower class really doesn't have that opportunity. So, some of these things won't work for everybody because you're just going to have some people that are going to be in such dire situations. They don't have two nickels to rub together to go out and do anything else to make ends meet. So they're really just living, day to day, hopeful that they'll come out of this on the other side. And it's kind of sad when you think about it, because even Robert Kiyosaki just said that, if this continues and we have something like 2007 that lasts 3 years or 4 years, it could possibly wipe out 50% of America because the average American only has about $1,000 in their savings account. If you have 15% inflation and gas $7-8 and rent going up 30%, I have nothing else now. I don't even have savings that I can tap into after a few months.
Right.
So we also got to be mindful for that. I know a lot of the information we put out, it seems like, oh yeah, I just need to do X, Y, Z. Not everyone's in the same level to be able to do that. And so I'm well aware of that. These concepts won't work for everyone, but for those that it can work for, take advantage of it. So.
Yes. Yeah.
That's great. I'm glad you said that, because it's not like this is not a holier than thou or smarter than thou situation. This is not that.
Right.
Simply because, like it or believe it or not, at the end of the day, we're in America, right? We're in the land of proper hustlers. If there's anything, coming from Africa, if there's anything that I know, we're in the land of hustlers.
Yes.
So sometimes what happens is the hustle is just done backwards a lot of times, right? You rather have a nice watch than have a savings account. You rather have some nice Jordans than have own some type of stock, right? So the hustle is just done backwards. You see what I'm saying? So if we can just start hustling forward,
yes,
it will change things just a little bit for everyone.
Yeah.
So because the goal is wherever you are at this year, next year, be a step or two steps above where you were last year.
Yes.
You see the point. It's a different thing to buy a pair of Jordans that came out and keep them stacked, because next year chances are the price is gonna go up. That's investment 101 right there.
Yes.
You see the point. So if we can just start, because I used to be that guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just recovering from that.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So if we can just start hustling forward and not backward, because everybody here have a hustle.
Yeah.
90% of the people here have a hustle, because it's a line where if you don't walk, you don't eat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care who you are. If you don't hustle here, you don't eat.
That's right.
So it's just taking that hustle strategically. Like you kept mentioning strategic. Everything you said, Milton, is you kept using that word strategic, hedging,
Yes.
paving the way for yourself. This is just basic steps of life. Last year I was 20 years old. Guess what? This year I'm gonna be 21. Already life has naturally given you a year plus. So the older you are, the wiser you get. Life has already given you a push
Yes.
by age, right?
That's right.
In Africa, they say the old man is not God, but he's lived with God for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So that means you've had this wisdom. You've seen what happened, the reoccurrence of things. So naturally, life has already given you that push.
Yes.
So you were a baby, you were crawling a couple of months ago. Now you are walking, right? You can't talk 3 weeks ago. Now you were saying some words, right?
Mm-hmm.
So naturally, we are already built in a progressive way. Naturally, that's why we get old, and we get old. But guess what? While you're growing, right, you need to start searching for something. You said something earlier really important that I don't want to get people to lose, right? When you said you gotta find what you love to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know where's the best place in America to do that? In the world to do that? America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, we all know DC Young Fly, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was just a guy with a camera phone making fun of people, right?
Yes.
And people say you play too much. You play too much. He's a multi-millionaire now.
Right.
He found what he loved to do.
That's right.
Right. In America, I played. So me and my friends play so much soccer, ankles and now knees, and we never got a penny from it.
Mm-hmm.
If we had done that in America in a structured environment, some of us could have gone pro.
Yes.
It's so much that we can start tapping into. Find something that you love to do, and find your purpose. Because in life, if you deviate from your purpose, you will never find joy. Because you will keep searching.
That's right.
And searching. And through the purpose of searching, I mean, even your car keys, if you lose your car keys at the house and you're looking for them, you get frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
So think about now you're searching for your purpose.
Yes.
How frustrating that is. Every day you wake up in the morning searching for, damn, what do I do next? Damn, it's going to lead you into doing stuff, all kinds of stuff, legal or illegal.
Mm-hmm.
You see the point? So it's just to give people the perspective, a different perspective from what I am used to. If you find your purpose, you either you have money or don't have money, you're the happiest person in the world.
Yeah. It is.
If you find your purpose, you're the happiest person in the world. And even if you find your purpose, everything about you is different. You just feel at ease.
Yes.
So, but how can you find that without improving yourself? You allow yourself that energy, allow yourself to grow, and then you're gonna tap into your true self, and then before you know, you think about it. If you were not doing what you do now, right? Did you see yourself doing any other thing apart from doing what you do now?
Not really.
Exactly. Think about you too. Like if you just stop today from doing what you do, you're like, damn, what am I gonna do next? You're gonna keep trying to come back to it. But you allowed yourself that space. You quoting all these Robert, what's his name again? Robert
Kiyosaki.
Kiyosaki. You're quoting all these people. That means you picked up a book. You see what I'm saying? So you gotta, it's here. Look within.
That's right.
And then when you look within and you find, you're gonna find. If you look, you're gonna find. It's biblical.
That's right.
And you will grow, you will become the better version of you.
Mm-hmm.
In America? Hell yeah. I don't care. I refuse. I just refuse for someone to tell me any different. Everybody in America have a hustle. Kids will sell you a candy.
That's right.
If a kid needs to go on a school trip outing and they know that my mom can't afford this, they take candy from the school, right? You see them going door to door selling it. I seen a little girl here in Kansas City who later on we will talk about. I think somebody should get behind her and support her. She's a boxer. She's like 6-7 times national champion here in Kansas City.
Wow.
She's called the boxing ballerina, right? She's trying to go to, I interviewed her, she's trying to go to the Junior Olympics right now, right? She was looking for funding. They did a GoFundMe. She was walking door to door selling candy to fund her trip to go box for Kansas. Then when she goes, they're going to say from Kansas City. She was, I think right now she's like, in her weight class, she's number one in America. When they write her name, what they write next to it is Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when they write that, she's putting on for Kansas City, but she's going door to door selling candy. Because she's find her purpose and she's like, this is what I'm going to die for.
Yes, that's right.
You see the point? So it's about hustling forward.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And just for a human, you fall 7 times, you gotta rise 8.
Yeah.
And even in if you read the Torah, which is the book of the Jewish, right?
Mm-hmm.
You gotta fail 7 times to be a tzaddik. A tzaddik is a person who is pretty much immersed all kind of mental space. It's like someone who is really properly aware of themselves.
Mm-hmm. So
they say you gotta fail 7 times. That's a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
This is the line of opportunity. When we come here, that's what we come for. When we come here, that's what we come for. So, I mean, I think I'm talking too much, but that's just my point. That's what I was trying to explain to us. Everything I'm hearing two of you talk about is like, and this is not, or what you're doing now is not given to you. It's not like you wake up one day and somebody came and said, hey, here's a company, here's 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's right.
It didn't happen like that.
That's right.
If we give you a chance here to tell your backstory, and he probably never told you his backstory, right? All right, we're gonna have to listen today. And he tell you his backstory, you're gonna be like,
I'm sure.
Yeah, I won't make it too long, but at the end of the day, or shall I say in the beginning, when I was a kid, first of all, man, I always loved like commerce overall, right? So I always wanted to do something that earned money.
Yeah.
And I figured out, at one point I was buying Nintendos and I realized, one friend wanted to buy it. So I'd sell it to this one and then go buy another. And I realized you can buy things and sell things. But I realized that I loved not the money, but finance, like the structure of commerce, right? And so early on, I developed this thinking that I want to be in the finance world as I grow up. And so I always looked to get into jobs and to do things where there was always opportunity to make money. Otherwise, I was always entrepreneurial. I was always starting something. I was always flipping things. I was always buying and selling. I used to buy and sell furniture. I used to buy and sell bikes. I used to buy and sell, cell phones because I loved commerce. I love being able to purchase something and then be able to resell it for a profit. And I bought all of these at one point as I got a little older. I bought all of the late night. When you're watching the late night infomercials and you see them saying you can buy real estate with no money down. I still own all of those courses. Wow. Right? They got dust on them now, but I bought them, I read them, and then I went out there and started trying them. And I failed a lot. I probably at some point nobody's gonna come. Yeah, I probably embarrassed myself a lot. I learned that what those things teach you is not doable by everyone. And when you're running the ads and doing all this stuff, the first deal I got a hold of, a guy called and he says, "Yeah, I'm going through a bad situation. I want to sell my house." And they teach you how to get the contract. You build this list of buyers and you flip it. And you flip the contract essentially for an assignment fee. But what happened to me was crazy on the very first deal because the guy that called responded to the ad. I followed the system exactly to the T. But when I got to the guy's house, he explained to me that he was going through a bad divorce because he got really sick. His wife couldn't keep up with the family. They couldn't keep up with the home. They were about to be evicted and they had to sell fast, right? And I realized in that moment that they were looking to me, a young kid that had this course on buying real estate with no money down to literally save their lives. Wow. And I realized that was a hell of a responsibility to carry, at that time. And so we tried to work through that deal as best we could. I think I found a lawyer. Then I just said, just take it. Cause I just needed to help them out as fast as possible. But I didn't realize in buying those courses, it would put me into that. And so I stuck with trying to, do the wholesaling thing like that for a little while. I remember I replied to some ad I saw like in Craigslist or something at the time, says, you want to flip houses, yada, yada. So I called this company up and it was crazy because I went out to this company, said, I want to flip houses. They said, okay, well, here's a realtor that has the contractors and everybody you'll need and the banks to go out and flip these houses. So they introduced me to this gentleman. I go and meet with him. And while I was there, this was a private lender in Olathe, Kansas at the time. And they said, yeah, we'll fund you. Like I had a job or something. They didn't really ask much questions. I'm going to tell you something at all. I was like, I walked out there with a pre-approval and I didn't understand how I got it. But I called this guy. He found these houses. He said, here's the list. He's like, these are the ones you want. Right. And so I said, okay. And he said, here's the contractors. You're going to call them. You're going to send them out. You're going to get your estimates. And this guy trained me, right, on how to flip these houses because he had the entire system already put together. It was just a fluke that I met him, more blessing, more so. And I followed his instruction. The contractors came out. We got estimates together. I went back to that lender. I said, here's the deal that your guy set me up with. They said, okay, we'll fund it. And that's how I got into my first deal. I made it through several deals. I even got some friends flipping houses. And then here we go again. One Saturday morning, I'm looking again at crack because I'm looking for properties. I'm looking for deals. But this thing says, if you're out flipping houses, do you want to learn how to finance them? So I said, all right. So I walked into this morning. I picked up the phone. I called the ad. This lady says, yeah, we're actually out at the office today. It was a Saturday morning. She says, can you come through? I got in my car and went straight to that office, right? I got in there and come to find out they're a mortgage company and they help people buy homes. And she sat down with me. She said, all right. She says, I'm going to show you how to I had this one house. She said, I'm going to show you how to finance this house for that borrower. And she walked me through the process. And I said, well, that's kind of easy. She says, yeah, you can come work for us as a loan originator. She's like, go down to the police station or wherever it is. You have to do your fingerprints and run something so you can get an actual license. And I came back that Monday. They gave me a cubicle and I started marketing to all the real estate investors and to all the appraisers and to all the people that I talked to and the real estate agents that, hey, I'm now in the mortgage business, right? She gave me that start that Saturday morning and I stuck with them for years, man. And I just kept working and working. And what ended up happening is I worked there for a number of years. And in doing that, I got to meet, the owners of commercial finance companies, ended up connecting a few people on the deal. And then I transitioned into the commercial real estate business or commercial finance. And it was so interesting because the gentleman that I met was out of Indiana. And when in working with him, he introduced me to a private a bank syndication right here in Prairie Village. And I ended up working with them for just a number of years. And that's how I learned like all the ins and outs of how does it work on the finance side? How do you finance real estate? How do you finance developments? How do you finance businesses? And as I learned all that information, I just kept growing and expanding. And I just tried to humble myself really and just keep learning and growing until the opportunity came for me to start, my own company and to be able to use that information in a way that I feel like is going to benefit the world and benefit, real estate investors and entrepreneurs, of all walks of life. We tell everyone that we service everyone, when some of the stuff that I've seen, over the years and online, I have a real estate investor out of I think it's like Montgomery, Alabama or something like that, who was just looking to get financing for certain properties, but banks were like, well, we don't finance properties that low, and I kind of said what was interesting about situations like that is I know that, the wealthier class of folks out there, they just pay cash for those properties, but then they turn around and rent them out like on Section 8 and make fortunes. Right. Whereas he said, well, I thought I could get a bank to finance me. He couldn't. But when he came to us, we used our resources to make sure that we helped him with those deals. And I think maybe we've done now 5 deals for him and we're going to help him do another 4 or 5 more. So we just try to service everyone. We try to make sure that, like I said, real estate investors, entrepreneurs, business owners have access to capital now through working through us. We focus, our core business is real estate acquisitions, real estate developments, but we also do business and equipment when needed as well too.
Oh, wow.
It is.
It's not overnight.
It's not. I had a lot of ups and downs, a lot of failed companies, a lot of learning at a high cost, at a high price. It cost me a lot to learn, man. It really did, especially when you're in the finance business. There's a lot to it. It can be complicated, but what I've done is I've tried to simplify things, tried to do it in a way to where it's just easy and it's simple to keep folks getting the access to the capital that they need. I went to a local event here I think a week ago, it's like a social club called Black, BLAKK. Mm-hmm. And met a whole bunch of people there. And I sat down with a group. They said, listen, we're thinking about either starting a food truck or a restaurant. Asked a few questions, are you looking for debt? Well, we don't want to go into a bunch of debt. We want to do this. We want to do that. So I said, well, let me just introduce you to an organization called We Fund Black Founders. And they put them through a quick test on the front end, said, we're going to ask you some questions. Can you answer these like these? They came back and said, man, we answered all the questions. And they basically said that through crowdfunding, we should be able to raise over $100,000 if we follow these instructions. Right. So now you have an opportunity to get access to the capital without even going through debt to do it. But I guarantee you, once you have that food truck long enough and you thought about the restaurant early on, that food truck is the path to the restaurant. And perhaps too many restaurants, right? So we try to put people on the path that they need to be on in order to really just get access to capital. So the core business is real estate, but we'll sit down and we'll talk to anyone that needs access and figure out if there's a way to help them and point them in the right direction if we don't have the solution.
You see, that's the beauty of education, the beauty of investing in yourself. Mm-hmm. If you never bought those courses and it's not like now that you can even have an online course. You can Udemy this stuff at home. Back then you have to buy books and read them and fill out some exercises and spend a lot of time doing that stuff,
Yeah. I'll tell you something on that. When I bought one of those courses, I didn't even have the money for it, right? But again, hustle mindset, right? So I went, there was a seminar at the Sheridan or something. I forget which system it was. It might've been the Montalongo guy from We Flip Houses or whatever. So I go into the session and I had been to enough of them that I knew this. And at the end, they tell everybody okay, you got to come back now and you got to buy today for this special price of $9.99, right? Or whatever it was. So what I did is I went through the crowd and I said, hey, listen, they will allow 2 people on that membership if we split it right now. And that's how I got it. So I talked to 10 people that day. I got this one lady was like, all right, let's do it. But she said, you know what? she said, listen, I love what you're doing. She said, I'm going to buy it and I'm going to give it to you to study for a month. And that's what she did. Wow. Right. But with that, when I went there, I just remember thinking, I was like, yeah, man, that's expensive. I can't drop, $1,100 or $1,000 on it. But I knew that when you get back there and ask questions, that they will allow you to split the membership. And so I went there with the intention to split it with somebody. Right. And that's what I got out of it. And she, I remember calling her later on. She said, you keep that course. I got another one. Wow. Yeah.
So, Chris, with what you do, the investment that you do, right? How much preparation goes into it? Because you're dealing with a market that is very, I don't know if volatile is the right word, but a market that is very unpredictable sometimes. Yeah. So, how much preparation do you have to do in order to prepare to invest in the stock market?
So there's two different things, right? To prepare to invest, I wouldn't say there's a ton of preparation, right? There's a lot of blueprints out there already. I tell people the simplest thing is an ETF, right? VTI or the SPY or something that already has everything that you need in it, those type of indexes, or follow what the greats are doing, right? You can look at Berkshire Hathaway and look at their top 10 holdings and say, okay, I'm just going to mimic this. But when it comes to the education piece, there's a lot of preparation because I have to know what I'm talking about when I'm talking to these people that are asking me questions, because not everyone's going to do the work. They want to ask questions and get handheld a little bit. So when it comes to that, and when it comes to the technical analysis and understanding the charts in history of movements to predict what things may happen in the future, that's where the preparation comes in. And for me, it's almost daily, right? Once I'm off work, I'm either listening to a podcast or a video about the market. I'm reading publications about what's going on globally and domestically, looking at futures, right? I'm spending a lot of time soaking in information about the market almost every single day so that I can stay ahead of the curve and things. And so when people ask me certain directions, by understanding, their situation, I can give them quick answers on what they should be doing with their money.
Wow. So let's talk about the stock market a little bit, right? So I hear a lot about the index.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the difference between the index fund and the individual stock.
Right. Individual stock is just that, right? You're buying individual share of Apple or individual share of Splunk or CrowdStrike or something like that, where index fund gives you a bucket, right? So you don't have to do as much research because you have these professionally managed funds that do that research for you. And a lot of times these index funds, if stocks are not performing well, they reswizzle those around. So you don't have to do a lot of that buying and selling for yourself. Now, when you become, somebody that's a more knowledgeable investor, index funds are good, right? Because you have that consistency there. They perform very well. Most of them perform on average about 10 to 13%, depending on which ones you're in. But then somebody like me, who's also a trader, I have a higher risk tolerance. I'm going to do my own research on some individual stocks so I can try to find some growth opportunities to where, while I know my long term is going to give me 10 to 13% for the rest of my life, plus, compounding interest from dividend drips and stuff like that, I also want to find some of those that are going to be, like the gush that went from $30 in 2020 up to $210 when the war started, right? So I want to find some of those also so I can get some higher returns and then put those into my long term. So those are the difference: individual stocks versus having a basket of stocks that are diversified for you.
Okay, so
but index funds honestly are a great way to invest, and people don't understand that most millionaires were made from the stock market just slowly, consistently investing in index funds. And once you get to 50, 55, you're a millionaire just by not taking a whole lot of risk, just consistently investing in certain index funds, right? In the right index funds. So it doesn't take a ton of risk to get into it, but I think people all should have some exposure to the stock market because it does create so many millionaires down the line. And I think, 2021 created the most millionaires that it ever had, was based off the stock market. So it's definitely a great vehicle to wealth building.
So I have a dude that I work with, right? And I was speaking to him about Roth Iras. And he said, Charles, do you have a Roth IRA? I said, yeah. And he asked how old I was, and I told him. And when I had one, He grinched like, "Ooh, you're late." He told me, he said, when you have a, at the time I didn't even have a child. He said, if you have a child, right? He said the first paycheck they make when they're 17, he said the first paycheck they make and the first tax return they get, he said they should all go into stock. He said into a Roth IRA. He said if you invest properly in a Roth IRA at the age of 17, he said by the time you get to 40, you might be a millionaire.
Yeah, because you got the tax deferred growth within the IRA. So definitely. An even crazier stat is that once your child's born, right? If you put, I think it's like $5,200 in that account, and even if you don't invest in it anymore, just based off of compounding interest and natural growth, they'll hit that millionaire by the time they're 50. Right, from you not doing anything, and you can accelerate that by putting 100, 200, 300, whatever you can afford in monthly. So there's a lot of those different scenarios that you can really work with, just based off of those things like compounding interest and dividend returns.
Man, I'm so grateful for two of you.
Yeah.
I am so grateful that you took time out of your day to come and sit down and just speak.
Yeah.
And just educate me and everybody who's gonna watch this. You see what I'm saying? And I'm gonna start with you, Chris. Then I'm gonna go to him, right? If there's one thing that you want whoever's gonna watch this to this end, right? There's one thing you want them to take away from this. What do you want them to take away?
Action. You have to start somewhere, right? You can take all the knowledge in the world. I have friends that I've been, talking about investing, trading, all this stuff forever, right? And they never taken a step. And I have other friends that have taken a step and taken the journey with me, and they have nice nest eggs. You can have all the knowledge you want. A lot of times people they call it analysis paralysis, right? You just want to get more information. I want to know everything, but you never take a step or take an action towards the goal that you want to get to. So one thing I would say to take away from this is you have to take action, even if it's scary. And it's going to be scary because if you don't know enough about it, it's going to be scary. Ask somebody that knows more than you do, and then just take action. Once you take somebody's time for advice on anything in life, don't waste their time. Take action with that you're giving. Right. So because it's always it's a blessing if somebody's going to give you their time and also give you knowledge with that time. So utilize it.
I feel like something very similar is I feel like you have got to take that action. But I think what you need to do is figure out a starting point. Figure out what is that thing, again, that you love to do. What can you do? What should you do? What would you do? Learn about it and then put that education in action. Right. Because I feel like a lot of times folks, they're thinking of a million things. And I'm going to tell you, this is why I hate social media, because it wires the brain to see a million other successes. Mm-hmm. Right. But it doesn't teach you can be successful. Yeah. Right. And you're not going to be successful doing all these crazy things you see every second scrolling. You got to figure out what the thing is. The thing is that is you. Learn about it and then take action on it. Right? Set a goal for it, right? Attempt to hit that goal. And if you fail, it's okay, right? You might learn, like, while you're in the process of that, hey, I need to pivot just a little to this, and then boom, things take off, right? But I feel like people let this world run them instead of them running the world, right? This world will dictate to you everything about your life, even if it sucks you dry. It doesn't have to be that way. Yeah. You can take control of it.
Wow. Me personally, I'll just say this, man. If you find yourself doing a lot of research, right, it's going to be too hard to take a leap of faith.
Yes.
Because then you start finding all these reviews, like you said, on social media about, oh, I did this and it failed. Oh, I did that and it failed. And you start asking so many questions, and people will start putting their limitations on you, telling you, man, I tried this, it didn't work. Yep. So it's about taking the leap of faith and developing yourself and building yourself up to get to where you want to be. It's a process, and you have to trust the process.
Trust the process. Yeah.
You have to grind it. You have to grind. Real estate comes with the grind. Investment comes with grind. Getting rich comes with the grind. I don't care what kind of fast money. You can be getting wealthy comes with the grind. You can be rich from a lottery, but guess what? You are not. Half the people that get the lottery, years down the line, they end up getting broke again because the grind is not there.
Yeah.
The grind is not there. And another thing that I want to close out with is we need to start having. There's no generational wealth without generational wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to start having plans for generational wealth, in as much as the same plans need to include generational wisdom. Yes. We need to start including the younger people into financial educations at a really early age. Yes. We need to start including them in financial educations at a really, really early age. That's the only way we can beat the curve quickly. And if you were a man with a kid or a woman with a kid right now, right? The only thing I'm gonna beg you to do, no matter what happened, get you a life insurance policy. Let your phone bill get cut off. Let the Wi-Fi go. Let Netflix go. There is something a bill that you can get rid of right now to accommodate a life insurance policy. Get it. That's one thing that's gonna give your child the jump that you never had.
Yes.
So if there's anything that I want to leave anybody with today, is allow yourself to grow. Yep. Take actions. Keep your head on your shoulders and push on.
Yeah.
And I just want me and everybody else, if we are getting anything here today, we just start whatever you want to do. You start somewhere. You don't know how to start, ask somebody.
Yeah. Yes.
Research.
One thing.
Yeah.
Milton spoke a lot about some of the failures that he also experienced. So with that, those things are going to happen. Not everything's a straight up trajectory. Not even the stock market, not even the real estate market. So with that, give yourself grace also. If you fail, don't say it's the end of the world and beat yourself up. Give yourself grace to look within, look without, and learn from those failures to be better at the next time that you do attempt something and take action. So I would also just want to add that piece.
Yeah. Key. You got to learn to forgive yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ooh, boy. If you do not learn to forgive yourself, you will stress yourself to death.
Yeah, absolutely.
You will stress yourself to death. But then again, thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you, man. They'll sell you hope for the price of action. It's for you not to auction your dream at a 9-to-5 gathering. Learn the ropes. To be free from self-bondage, have to fend for yourself. Do not feast with the vultures. That's how you preserve culture. That's how legacy is built. Each one teach one. Each one help one. Each one feed one. Each one praise one. There's no generational wealth without generational wisdom. No man is free unless the whole family is free. Family tax is a real thing. My auntie need a Benz. My cousin needs some Jordan 3s. I'll be damned if I let another man tell me my limits. Catch up, naysayer. I'm winning. I'm winning. I'm winning.